Anthony Albanese has made history. The Australian Prime Minister secured a second three-year term. This triumph is unprecedented in recent political history. No Australian Prime Minister has achieved this feat in 2 decades. The victory resonates deeply with the public and political analysts alike. It signifies the enduring trust placed in Albanese's leadership and his vision for the country. The Labour Party, under Albanese's guidance, has solidified its hold on power, demonstrating a strong and cohesive strategy. Projections show Labour securing a comfortable majority, a testament to their effective campaigning and public support. They are poised to win between 81 and 85 seats in the 150-seat House of Representatives, ensuring a stable government. This victory extends Labour's reign, reinforcing their policies and vision for the future. They initially swept back into power in 2022 after nearly a decade in opposition, marking a significant political shift. Their victory then marked a turning point for Australia, setting the stage for progressive reforms. This latest triumph cements their mandate for change and progress. This election wasn't just about retaining power. It was about solidifying a vision for Australia's future. It was about ensuring that the policies and reforms promised would be realised. Albanese's victory is a testament to his ability to connect with the electorate on a personal level. He understood their hopes and anxieties, addressing them with empathy and clarity. He offered them a path forward, a vision of a better, more inclusive Australia. His win is a victory for progressive values, emphasizing equality and fairness. It is a win for a fairer, more equitable Australia, where every voice is heard. The sense of momentum is palpable as the nation rallies behind their leader. Albanese's victory sends a clear message. Australians crave stability and progressive change. They yearn for a leader who understands their struggles and aspirations. They have found that leader in Anthony Albanese, a beacon of hope for the future. Peter Dutton's defeat sent shockwaves through Australian politics. The opposition leader lost his own seat to Labour's ally France. France, a former journalist and para-athlete, embodies a new generation of political leadership. Her victory is a testament to her resilience, her empathy, and her vision for a more inclusive Australia. Dutton's loss is significant. It represents a rejection of the divisive politics he came to embody. His campaign, often criticised for negativity and fear-mongering, failed to resonate with voters. The electorate saw through the rhetoric. They craved a more positive, hopeful vision for their future. The Trump factor loomed large over Dutton's campaign. His perceived ideological closeness to the former US president alienated many moderate voters. Dutton's defeat serves as a cautionary tale. It demonstrates the limits of populism and division in Australian politics. In the aftermath of defeat, Dutton conceded gracefully. He accepted responsibility for the loss and announced his resignation as leader of the Liberal Party. His departure marks the end of an era. It signals the need for the Liberal Party to reassess its identity and reconnect with the Australian people. The cost of living crisis dominated the election campaign. Australians grappling with soaring inflation and stagnant wages demanded action. The rising cost of essentials groceries, petrol, electricity placed immense pressure on households. For many, it was a struggle to make ends meet. The major parties presented vastly different solutions. Labour promised targeted relief. They pledged to ease the burden on families and individuals struggling to cope. The coalition, in contrast, offered tax cuts. They argued that putting more money in people's pockets would stimulate the economy and drive down prices. This debate highlighted a fundamental divide in Australian politics. Labour championed a more interventionist approach. They argued that government had a responsibility to protect its citizens from economic hardship. The coalition favoured a more hands-off approach. They believed that market forces, rather than government intervention, offered the best path to prosperity. The cost of living crisis resonated deeply with voters. It was a tangible, everyday concern that transcended traditional political divides. The election results suggest that Australians favoured Labour's approach. They sought a government willing to intervene and provide relief from the relentless pressure on their wallets. Healthcare and housing emerged as critical battlegrounds in the election, capturing the attention and concern of millions of Australians. Australians expressed growing concern about the state of the nation's healthcare system, which many felt was on the brink of crisis. Long wait times for elective surgery, a shortage of general practitioners in regional areas, and the rising cost of private health insurance fueled anxiety. Many families found themselves struggling to afford necessary medical care. Labour seized on these concerns, making healthcare a central pillar of their campaign. They pledged to invest heavily in healthcare, promising sweeping reforms. Their promises included subsidised GP visits, increased funding for mental health services, and shorter wait times for essential procedures. They aimed to create a more equitable healthcare system. They argued that healthcare was a right, not a privilege. They promised to make it more affordable and accessible for all Australians, regardless of their income or location. Housing affordability also loomed large. Skyrocketing house prices, particularly in major cities, made it increasingly difficult for first-time buyers to enter the market. Many young Australians felt locked out of home ownership. Labor proposed a multi-billion-dollar plan to build new affordable housing, aiming to ease the burden on struggling families. They also pledged to introduce policies designed to cool the overheated property market, making it more accessible for everyone. The coalition countered with their own set of promises, focusing on different aspects of the issues. They focused on strengthening the private healthcare system, believing it to be the best way forward. They offered tax breaks for private health insurance and pledged to reduce red tape for healthcare providers, aiming to make the system more efficient. On housing, they emphasized policies designed to boost supply, believing that increasing the number of homes would help bring prices down. These competing visions highlighted the stark choices facing Australian voters. They had to decide what kind of society they wanted to live in. Did they want a society where healthcare and housing were considered fundamental rights? Or did they prefer a system where these essential services were increasingly privatized and out of reach for many? The choice was theirs to make. Climate change and clean energy emerged as defining issues in the election. The urgency of these issues was felt across the nation, from bustling cities to remote rural areas, as Australians grappled with the tangible impacts of a warming planet. Australia, a country highly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, faced a choice. The stark reality of environmental degradation was evident in the eroding coastlines, drought-stricken farmlands, and the devastating aftermath of bushfires that had ravaged communities. Would it embrace the transition to a clean energy future? The potential for renewable energy sources like solar and wind was immense, offering a path to sustainability and energy independence. Or would it cling to its reliance on fossil fuels? The fossil fuel industry, deeply entrenched in the economy, presented a significant challenge to change. Labour campaigned on an ambitious platform of climate action. They sought to position Australia as a leader in the global fight against climate change, promising transformative policies. They pledged to reduce emissions significantly by 2030. This commitment was seen as a bold step towards meeting international climate targets and protecting future generations. They promised to invest heavily in renewable energy, creating thousands of new jobs in the process. This investment was not just about the environment, but also about revitalizing the economy and providing new opportunities for workers. They argued that climate action was not just an environmental necessity, but also an economic opportunity. By leading in renewable energy, Australia could become a hub for innovation and green technology. The coalition, traditionally closely aligned with the fossil fuel industry, adopted a more cautious approach. They emphasized the importance of a balanced transition that would not disrupt the existing economic framework. They acknowledged the need to reduce emissions. However, their strategy focused on gradual changes and technological advancements within the fossil fuel sector. However, they argued that this should not come at the expense of jobs or economic growth. They stressed the importance of maintaining economic stability while addressing environmental concerns. They promoted a technology-neutral approach, suggesting that clean coal and gas should play a role in Australia's energy future. This approach aimed to balance environmental goals with economic realities. This debate exposed a deep rift within Australian society. The division was not just political but also cultural, reflecting differing values and priorities among Australians. On one side were those who demanded urgent action on climate change. They saw the environmental crisis as an immediate threat that required swift and decisive measures. They argued that Australia had a moral obligation to act, both for the sake of its own citizens and for the future of the planet. The call for action was driven by a sense of responsibility to protect the environment for future generations. On the other side were those who prioritized economic growth and jobs. They feared that aggressive climate policies could lead to job losses and economic downturns. They argued that Australia should not move faster than its trading partners in transitioning to a low-carbon economy. The concern was that unilateral action could put Australia at a competitive disadvantage. The election results suggest that a growing number of Australians are demanding action on climate change. The shift in public opinion indicated a rising awareness and concern about environmental issues. They see it as an existential threat that requires bold and decisive leadership. The impacts of climate change were no longer abstract concepts, but real and pressing challenges. They are looking to the government to provide that leadership and to chart a course towards a more sustainable future. The hope is that with strong and visionary leadership, Australia can navigate the complexities of climate action and emerge as a global leader in sustainability.